The Average Gamer, guys. Josh, this is our first review.
It is our first review, Wes.
This is going to be interesting. See how it goes. We'll try not to ramble on too much, but that's Josh. I'm Wes. Welcome. And I have spent a little bit of time this week playing DayZ, which has been out on PC for a long time. It's originally a PC game, from what I understand. I've never played it. Have you ever played it?
I have not played.
No.
I've seen some videos around, which were cool, but no, I haven't played
Okay.
it. So
Been out on the Xbox for a while too. I think it came out maybe earlier this year or last year on the Xbox. I'm not 100% certain, but it's only just come out this week on the PlayStation Store, which I was a little bit surprised on the price tag, if I'm honest. It was $75 at the moment. I don't know if it still is or if it's come down, but I was expecting, I guess, for a game that's been out for a little while like that, I didn't think it was going to be that much, but it is what it is. We'll see. One thing I can recommend from the start is to watch the intro video, which is what you're seeing right now, because I sort of dove into it firsthand without watching the intro video. And
obviously,
of course, because I was excited.
it's like reading instructions. It's not important.
Yeah, we don't read instructions. You get a bit of direction, a little bit of background, because that's one thing that's, I guess, realistically distinctly lacking in the game is any real sense of direction outside of just survive.
Okay.
That makes sense. So, but it's one of those zombie type survival games, open world. They don't call them zombies; they call them infected. It's a huge map. From what I've read about it, apparently the map itself is like 220 square kilometers.
It's an absurdly large map,
Which is crazy. Take a while to cover that on foot, obviously. But yeah, so you spawn on the coast. I think you always spawn on the coast from what I've read. So the coast tends to be the slightly, I guess, higher populated by other players because it's a big multiplayer game. 60 people in a map in per server, up to 60 people. And that's kind of part of the foundation on the game. You can run across other people. You can talk to them with vicinity voice chat through the microphone and stuff like that as well.
Really cool feature.
Which is cool. You meet some random people from all over the place. And as I said, the idea is pretty much just survive. So basically, you start off. Here's the starting screen. It's not an interactive tutorial. Basically, the tutorial which you're about to see is just some background on your HUD, which is you need to pay attention to your hydration levels, you need to pay attention to your hunger levels, you need to eat, you need to pay attention to your temperature, you need to pay attention to your blood levels if you're bleeding after a fight, and your health levels, obviously, as well, factor into that. So there's a lot of time spent looking for food, looking for drinks, things like a can of Pipsy, P-I-P-S-I, or it's from New Zealand or something, maybe. Melee combat is a big part of the game as well. You can apparently pretty much use anything as a weapon. You start off with a flare and a little rock knife. I think I've been trying to hit my flare on someone's head before, which was kind of interesting. But also it's obviously quieter because there's that level of stealth, survival, stay away from the infected because they go pretty crazy sometimes. Especially early on, you don't really want to be running into them too much. You can find guns. They're a little bit more on the rare side, but it's not as simple as just finding a gun because ammo is super scarce. If you find bullets, you might find one for a rifle.
Gotta hope it actually works with that gun.
Yeah, that's exactly right as well. So there's a lot of looting and finding things like that, which is kind of cool. I think the list of items that you can find throughout the game is huge because I'm finding motor oil and car tires and things like that. So you can find cars and repair them and be able to drive them around the massive map, which makes sense and is kind of handy. I'll get into it a little bit, but we've just seen the inventory tutorial there. The worst part about this game is the inventory system. It's clunky. It's not fun. It's clearly been designed for PC where you've got a mouse that you can click and drag things around, that sort of stuff. It's a lot more clunky on console. They obviously haven't really changed it for that. I'm just going into control here because I've got to invert the vertical view, the y-axis on every game I play because I'm one of those weirdos. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Now, when you jump in and you start here, you get to pick a server. There's a huge amount of servers to pick from Asia to Europe. I think America has its own section or category of servers as well. Persistence on and off. I believe persistence on means that you can find heaps of stuff and leave the game, come back the next day, a couple days later, and pick up where you left off with all your stuff. I think persistence off means that when you leave, it's you lose all your stuff and you start again, I think. If I'm wrong about that, please send us a message or comment and correct me. But I think that's what it is. There is a first-person only option. The default view is third-person, which I've only been playing in because I think it's probably a little bit easier to be able to see your surroundings a little bit more.
I prefer third-person.
Yeah, so you can switch between it in the normal servers, but there is first-person only servers as well, which will probably add to the difficulty level a little bit. Now, one frustrating thing, because obviously we're coming at this from the average gamer guy's point of view, if you've only got half an hour here and there to play, sometimes when you jump onto a server, there's a waiting list. And I've found there's always a waiting list, even when I've jumped into the servers that say they have low players. I've still got to wait for 2 or 3 people to die. So you're positioned in the queue 29. So in that sense, you'd have to sit there and wait for 29 people to die before it throws you in.
In a world that big, people probably aren't dying that quickly.
No, especially if just by chance you jump into a server where everyone's just playing stealthy survive, not running around just looking for people to get 48 in that one. So there is a little bit of trial and error as far as what server can I jump on. I haven't had any issues with connectivity, any sort of laggy play or anything like that, even when I'm jumping on European servers or whatever, which was good. That in itself was pretty cool, but we'll dive into some gameplay in a second.
Something that I've just noticed.
Yeah.
All the characters here seem to be rotating randomly. You don't build your character just to randomise you are who you are.
If there is a way to customise your character, I haven't found it. Cool. It's just start and you're this blonde woman. Next minute you're this guy with no hair. So that's kind of random in a sense. So I guess you don't really... I like the fact that you don't get caught up in wasting time picking how far apart your eyes are, for example. Like,
it's a very key element in how you look.
I've got a job and a family and dog and hobbies and stuff like that. I don't really want to spend time picking how long my hair is. I don't care about what clothes my character wears, unless in this game you do, because they have warmer properties in cold temperature and stuff, and you have to pay attention to that. But if it's just purely aesthetic, I don't want to waste my time on that. It doesn't do anything for me at all. So I've spawned first time playing the game. This was my run through where I hadn't watched the intro and didn't have any direction at all. There's obviously a cycle, day through to night time. I was lucky enough to spawn in the middle of the night.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. It's really, really good because you can't adjust the brightness setting. So this is obviously an angle that they've gone for with the game. They've purposely made it super dark, like there's no light pollution around whatsoever. So yeah, you can see, I can sort of see my shoulders, and a bit of a light source off in the distance there, which I was lucky enough that there was a couple of players around running around with the flares.
Yep.
Now, you start with a flare. I think you start with 1 can of drink. You start with a rock knife and a couple of other just sort of random bits and pieces. So, obviously, you've got to, I guess, pay attention to your noise levels, the amount of light that you're actually emitting in the darkness too, because if you've got some players around there that want to just find people, kill them and steal their stuff, if you're running around in the dark with a flare, it's like, hey, here I am. Come find me.
Super tactical flare.
Yes. So I guess that sort of plays into it a little bit. Not so much at the start, because if you die, you just start again and you haven't really invested a huge amount of time into it. But when you die, you die. There's no checkpoints. There's no, I can start again from this point with all the stuff I had 10 minutes ago. It's gone and you start again. So I think what I'm finding as I've played it a little bit more, and what that's creating for me is I tend to be a lot more careful. if I found a couple of guns, I got a cool backpack, heaps of storage space. I'm not going to run around carelessly. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. He's running around those pants with his flare. So that was interesting, but I was kind of at this stage following along with him without having to waste my flare, I guess. So when you get further on, you really start to think about being tactical, sneaking around, not engaging with infected or other people. Because there was a couple of times early on where I'd run into another player, not an infected, another player from wherever they were in the world, and just indiscriminately started swinging a sledgehammer at me without
just cause
any reasoning or talking to me or anything like that. Because yes, you can talk, as we said before, with the near or vicinity chat through your headset, so you can talk to people. As I said, attack them or help them. You've got freedom to be whatever you want in this game, which is kind of cool.
I imagine you can share inventory with people.
Yeah, you drop stuff. So if you want to share it to someone, you just drop on the ground and they can go along and pick it up. Now, there was one point, this is a little bit later on, I found a bike helmet. Some other random persons found their bike helmet as well. But I think at this point I'd actually dropped and lost my flare. I couldn't find it again in the dark. So I was relying completely on other light sources because I actually had nothing. And this might be my first interaction with infected. The combat system, clunky, not overly polished, but realistically, in a game that's this big with this amount of content variety, it's to be expected, and you're not gonna have really, really high levels of combat. You got to pay attention, as I said before, your blood levels. If you're in a fight, you might be bleeding. You need to actually find clothing that you cut up with your knife, turn into rags to heal yourself as well. So you've got to pay attention to all that sort of stuff. There is options in the inventory system about combining. So I assume there is a level of crafting that you can find items that go together to create different weapons and change things around, which is kind of cool. But here's the inventory system. Now, the first thing that annoyed me about the inventory system was, as you can see there, it says hands.
Yeah.
But realistically, it's like you're a one-handed person. Because if you've got a flare equipped, you can't put a hammer or a knife in the other hand.
Why would you be able to?
No, not at all. So if at night time, if I'm running around with a torch or a flare, so I can see, and then I stumble across infected or another player that wants to hurt me, I need to drop my flare.
Yep.
So that then at least it's still a light source to be able to fight. Because if I put it away, the light source goes away.
Right.
And then you're trying to fight in pitch black darkness.
But so are they.
Which
true. Be a tactical option.
It is definitely 100% if you want to try and run away.
Yep.
If you don't have it, there's definitely 100% that option as well. This is a little bit more of the combat system with some infected and my rock knife that I start with. But yes, the inventory system, it took me a while to figure it out. Like there was one point where I was trying to equip a new pair of shoes that I found. It took me a while to figure out that I actually had to first remove the shoes I had on before actually putting the new shoes on, which I guess, hey, it's realistic.
It is, but it's a quality of life thing that you shouldn't really have to do in a game.
I was expecting I'd just be able to highlight the new ones and just hit equip and it would swap them.
Well, I mean, we've played games for a while before. That's generally how it works. You just drag it across the top and it'll automatically switch it out.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they do. So this is footage from a little bit later on. I'd found a gun. I don't think I had any ammo for it, but I found a cool backpack with heaps of storage space because the inventory system is broken up by your clothing, basically. So my jacket might have 20 spaces of inventory on it. My pants might have 30 spaces of inventory on it. My backpack might have 60. So things take up different amounts of space. Something will take up 6 spots and another item will take up 2 spots. So you've got to move things around to maximize your space, which is kind of cool. That's, a little bit of sort of inventory Tetris there, which isn't too bad. So you've got to pay attention to that. But yeah, sort of dragging things around sometimes was a little bit tedious. But once I figured it out, it obviously became a lot easier. Still clunky, not ideal, but had figured it out.
Is the in the space in your backpack, is it based on shapes or just purely the quantity?
Just quantity. So if you've got 18 spaces filled in your 20 space pants and you want to put a 3 space item in it, you can't. You got to move things around to make them fit. So you got to think about that in a way, which isn't too bad. I don't mind it. That was manageable and okay. There's a lot of downtime sometimes in this game. When I first started, I think I was running along a road for 20 minutes before I found buildings, things to do. It was just forest and a road.
Yep.
So if you're just looking for a quick hour gameplay, that can sometimes be a little bit tedious. But I think I'm still very intrigued and am still going back to play the game just because of the scale of it, I think, and thinking of what else am I going to find. So I'm still pretty fascinated by different things that I'm finding.
Well, I feel like because it is just the one map, the more you play, the more of the map you're going to explore, the more you're going to know to head in a certain direction, and you can build on that existing knowledge that you have. Yeah,
and obviously for example, here I'm in a garage now. I could exit the game now, but then when I jump back into another server, if I pick the server with persistence on, I'll reload in that spot with the same inventory that I left with, which is good. Talking about the map, there is no map system that you start with, so you've got a very large space and you won't know whereabouts you are in relation to the map at all. Now, it does say in the tutorial video about starting on the coast, gathering supplies, and then making your way inland. And I assume as you make your way inland, you might find more infected, maybe harder to kill infected, different things as well. But you can find maps on the side of the road, like the big billboard type maps, and have a look at that. I did find a compass at one point, and I have heard that you can find paper maps and sort of recreate them, whether you find partial maps and then you find more and you piece them together, I don't know. But there is a mapping system that you find, but you've got to basically find it and build it.
Gotcha. I assume that the people that you encountered further in have obviously played the game a lot more and would be assumedly better equipped.
I would assume so, and I think because I haven't gotten that far yet, but I've seen footage on YouTube and things like that. I think maybe the loot and items get better and better as you're going, because I've seen footage of a guy in a ghillie suit with what looked like a very high-powered tactical assault rifle and sniper rifle as well. So yes, as I said, the scale of things that you can do and find is huge. It's huge and crazy in that sense. I would like a little bit more direction as far as, I guess it'd be nice if there was some kind of a storyline that you uncover, maybe about what the infected are, what the infection is, where it started, whereas it's basically just survive and...
So there are no NPCs around that give you any...
No.
Right.
Nope. The only NPCs, or at least that I've encountered, are the infected. And they just want to eat your brains, basically. So, yep. And then, as I said, there's the other characters, other players in the games. I did run into one nice guy that was talking and kind of wanted to help me, but at the time I was sort of on the couch and I had a little bit of time to play, and Ellie was home and we were sort of chatting, so I was kind of half paying attention to what I was doing. I didn't have my mic or my headset on, so I didn't actually talk back to him or anything like that. I just kind of followed along for a little while. There was no real way that I could see that I could add him as a friend without looking at his name, jumping out into the PlayStation menu and searching for him on the PlayStation Network. So I guess in that sense it sort of creates that, I guess you're alone also as a survivor, but you do run across random people that
can choose to help out.
Sometimes they'll help, sometimes they just pull a sledgehammer out, which I encountered a couple of times. Yep. So as I said, as I get further on, if I've got some really cool stuff, I think I'd be a little bit annoyed if I died and lost that. So I don't know whether that would cause me to throw the control and raid quit and then never play the game again, because I couldn't be bothered going through the 20 hours of looting and all that I'd already done.
You like to have that payoff in a game that I've invested so much time, and now I have this overpowered gear. To lose that in an instant would be soul destroying.
It is frustrating, but it adds a different element to the gameplay.
True enough.
It does make you sort of be a little bit more stealthy and try not to engage. Maybe go, I'm going to go somewhere else. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what the player base is like. with more people that I ran into. If people are just running around being jerks and just killing everyone for no reason, or if people actually start to talk and help people out and team up together.
Given the nature of the game and how much time you need to invest to get to that point, I would suggest that would be more helpful. The people who would be doing that griefing, generally I don't think would have the attention span to continue to build and get to that point.
Yeah. And I'm going to assume as you get further on in inland where things do get harder, you probably might need to do things in pairs, small groups, Walking Dead style, team up to sort of get stuff done, which is kind of cool. But yeah, watch the intro video before you start. Hopefully you won't spawn at night all the time like I did. The weather system's pretty cool though. I've encountered a little bit of rain, fog, things like that. It sort of changes the mood, especially when you sort of visibility down and you're hearing the noises of the spawn, of the infected, and you're like, oh, I don't really want to engage, I don't really have a good weapon kind of thing. As I said, the freedom in the game is actually pretty amazing and is what is bringing me back at the moment, because as I said, there's a real lack of storyline, but the freedom of exploration and doing whatever you want to do is kind of cool. So I do enjoy that. But as far as rating the game goes, we've got a few rating systems, basically. So learning curve is number one, which is how hard is it to learn how to play the game, I guess. How complicated is it to get into? I gave it a 6, just mainly because it took me a while to figure out the inventory system and how everything kind of worked, because, as I said, it wasn't an interactive tutorial. It was just, here's what the buttons do.
Dumps you straight into the game.
Yeah, there was no real good explanation of how the inventory system works, so that was a little bit frustrating. So learning curve, 6 out of 10. Time to start, 6 out of 10 as well, just because of sometimes the wait on the servers. If you're jumping in onto a server and you've got a queue of 34, 48, 29, that sometimes you can be sitting there waiting for a while before you can actually get into the game.
Waiting for 20 minutes to play 20 minutes, just, yep.
From that average gamer point of view of, hey, I've got an hour, the baby's having a nap, I'm going to get some quick game time in, that can be really deflating if you've got to sit there and wait for that, if you're not lucky enough to find a server that's only got 2 or 3. Session time, I gave it a 6 out of 10, just same thing. If you jump on for half an hour and you're running down a street for 25 minutes, doing nothing in that can be really frustrating as well. Gameplay, I gave it a 5 out of 10, just because of the clunkiness of it. And, like you've seen some footage where I've walked into some warehouses, and it's a giant warehouse, and it is completely bare bones empty. There's not even a chair in a corner. It kind of lacks a little bit there. And if I'm running down a street for 25 minutes and then 15 minutes I'm trying to figure out how to combine things in my inventory and move things around, a little bit frustrating in that sense. And the fences, things like that, like knee-high fences that you can see, you can't jump high enough to jump straight over them, and you can't vault them. If you're sprinting and you jump at the right time, you can get over them sometimes, but there is little clunky features like that, which is a bit annoying, especially if you're trying to escape from a couple of infected running at you, if you've got to stop and run along the perimeter of a fence.
Especially when in real life you could just bolt them quite easily. That would be frustrating.
Yeah, that's a bit annoying. And then replayability, which is how much do I want to actually come back and play it again? I get an 8, just because it's still early on and I'm still intrigued by what I'm going to find along the way, what I'm going to be able to do along the way, which is kind of cool. I don't know if that will fade after I've been sort of doing the same things for ages and there's no objective or go to try and find this place to find this information kind of thing. So I don't know how that'll go, but we'll wait and see. So overall, I think that comes out at about a 6 out of 10. So I mean, look, it's average, it's fair, it hasn't blown me away, but it's been entertaining and it's been fun. I just don't know if people are going to throw $75 on it to try it if they're not overly convinced.
I think I'd probably be one of those who probably like to see a little bit more before I throw down the $75 for it. It's as you said, it's very intriguing. It's a huge map, so the amount of what you can do, it seems limitless early on, but it just seems like a hell of a grind, and the risk reward to get to that point. I'm not sure if being an average gamer I have that time to commit, whereas, some other AAA titles out there that I can jump straight into and want to come back with bits and pieces.
Yeah. So keep an eye on the socials. As I get further along, I'll definitely keep things updated about it as to whether I've gotten to a point and I've been jumped by some random people and I lose all my stuff and I throw my controller through the TV and don't want to start it over again and do all that. Who knows? We'll wait and see. We'll keep that up. If I've missed anything, if I've gotten anything wrong, please let us know. Comment, email, whatever you want to do to let me know, because I'm sure I've missed things. I'm sure I haven't gotten to certain things yet. So if there's something that's down the track that makes the game amazing, please let us know so I can keep my eye out for it and then bring other updates on how I'm going to it. And if there's anything you want us to have a look at or play that's either coming out or has been out that you're unsure of, just same thing, comment, let us know. We'll throw our money at it so that you don't have to first, and we'll see how we go. But other than that, what have you been playing?
I'm still on Division, man.
Division 2.
Division 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So you're not one of these people that post to Reddit and everything online saying that there's no content and all of this sort of stuff. I've played it for 600 hours and there's nothing to do.
Look, I've spent a reasonable amount of time on it. I think I saw this morning that I was at 9 days and 15 hours worth of play, which is like 200-something hours.
Yeah, that's a fair bit.
But to be honest, I just like the core gameplay. Like, it's a cover-based shooter. I get some loot. There are things that I haven't got yet, but if it's a core gameplay that I like, I'm happy just to run and explore. There's so many things with broken windows that you can just climb through and find little Easter eggs, which are just fun, and it keeps you coming back.
Yeah.
More stuff coming out soon. Look,
well, Title Update 4, is Title Update 4 later in June?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
so
I don't
that's
think we've
the
got a
first-
number yet, but yeah, later this month.
So that's the first major rollout, obviously. Look, I guarantee you we're going to create some content around the Division because I'm also playing that at the moment as well and loving it. So potentially we might be able to look at doing something around Title Update 4.
Sounds like a good
We'll see
plan.
how we go. But as I said, if there's anything else you want us to look at, talk about, just let us know. Follow the socials. There'll be a podcast version of this as well as the YouTube, Facebook videos, and Twitter, Facebook, Instagram as well. So they'll all be in the description, and you guys can check it out. And hopefully, we'll see you again soon.
Unreal. See you next time.